Yo guys, what's up? So today, the video is going to be about Yakuza Kiwami 2, a remake of the original Yakuza 2 for the PS2. So far, my experience with the series has just been playing Yakuza 0 and Yakuza Kiwami, which was a remake of Yakuza 1. And so then after that, I moved on to playing Kiwami 2. And yeah, that's been just about my experience overall. But what from I had played in 0 and Kiwami 1, I really liked them a lot. So I was moving into this thinking that this was also going to be pretty good. So just things that I kind of already knew prior to playing this one in particular. I had one small little plot thing spoiled for me. Well, I guess it's not small, it was kind of big, but it didn't like change a whole lot because it was a little bit predictable anyhow. And of course there's the infamous scene So yeah, so the overall plot for Kiwami 2 is the Tojo clan, which Kiryu was formerly a part of, is in a desperate time of need, and Kiryu tries to help them out, and it launches into this giant adventure for Kiryu. So I don't really want to get too far into plot because I just don't like doing that because it takes a while and it might spoil things for people that haven't played it already. So I'll just get into the things that I thought were good and bad. So starting off with just the things that I liked. First off, I've kind of seen this with every single game so far. Just having amazing soundtrack. RGG is really good at this. To just make absolute bangers for their games. I mean, I don't really need to get too far into that because I'm playing the music all throughout the video and you'll kind of get to hear that, but just putting it out there, just amazing soundtrack. Next thing, like the difficulty overall, it's not as quite as a dramatic shift as it was from 0 into Kiwami 1. But overall, it's not like it's not easy, but it's not hard either. Like it's balanced, and it does expect a player to like kind of pick up some of the gameplay things that are necessary to do it, which is what a good difficulty game does. Like for instance, it not quite as dramatic as this, but games like Nocturne kind of force you into learning what the main mechanics of the game are, and if you don't, you're kind of just done. Like you're not gonna make it very far because they're just gonna be skill check bosses, and they're just gonna really come raining down on you. This is kind of like that, but not quite as much because there are certainly some bosses in particular that are very challenging. In particular, there's a reoccurring boss that has like knife boots that comes at you, and you really either have to be stacking heals or just learn how to deal with them efficiently, or it's gonna be bad because they do a lot of damage and you can't block against them because of the knives. But moving on from that, I'm not gonna say a whole lot about this just because it's related to the plot, but generally speaking, sequels to stories that are already good generally tend to be not quite as good, but this is that's definitely not applying to this game, just because like I thought at the end of Kiwami 1, like you could have ended the series right there and it would have been perfect, but the way that they do 2, it's like a really good sequel story. Like it doesn't feel like it's just like wasting the potential, and I feel like I could say it again, like you could just end it at the end of 2 and it would be just fine. But yeah. And it's something else related to the plot, although I'm not going to get into particulars about it. Um, I've noticed this in like all three of the games so far, is that RGG likes to put in like these bittersweet endings into like all of them, and I know it's not for everyone, but that's just something that I absolutely love in storytelling, because I'm not a very big fan of like the everybody gets a happy ending sort of stereotype. Like, I like a story that actually feels like it has something to lose, and not everybody gets to walk away with a happy ending. And in that sense, I feel like the story feels a lot realer because of that, and that definitely applies to this game. But yeah, moving on from that, like in all the previous games, I think the sub-stories are like a really good way to add in like side content. Like just outside of Yakuza games, it's kind of like PS4 Spider-Man. Like, all the side quests are actually worth your time, and they're worth doing, because even though they're not part of the main quest, it's just fun to do in their own right. In the mini games, I don't know why in the world Sega and RGG thought it would be a good idea to just cram like tons and tons of mini games into a game series about the Yakuza, but they did, and it's awesome. Like, why did there have to be so many mini games? Like, you've got they literally put Virtua Fighter 2 in the game, like the whole like arcade mode of it. And you got other things like karaoke, darts, golf, the batting cages, the urinal peeing game. We don't talk about that one though. There's probably more I'm forgetting out, but yeah, there's just like tons of mini games, and like you can't really go wrong with any of them. Oh yeah, and like Yakuza 0, they brought back these like half campaigns, but instead of one going to Kiryu and one going to Majima, Kiryu just gets 2. So they brought back the Cabaret Club Management campaign, and an entirely new one where Kiryu has to help Majima with his construction company, and they're both really good. I think overall I probably like the Cabaret Club Management one a little bit more, because it felt like the Majima construction one's got a little bit tedious over time, and it takes a while to do each quest for it, but I still like both of them. Oh yeah, this is something else in particular that I thought was amazing. So game developers really need to take notes of this. Like, this is something that I thought was in particularly really good with this game, was like these dynamic boss intros, which I'll insert one really quick. Just like using, like, this isn't like pre-rendered cutscenes or anything, it's just like going straight into the battle with this already cutscene using all the in-game models, and just it really sets up the tone for the fight that's like about to start. One of the things that they changed in each game is how XP, like how it takes its form. So in 0, the XP was actually just the money that you got, because it's kind of joking around with the bubble era economy of the 80s. And then Kiwami 1, you get like your standard XP from beating enemies, and just once it builds up you can use it in the skill trees. But for this one in particular, it's like that, like the last one, but instead of just like one thing that levels up when you defeat enemies, you have like 5 different types of XP, which can all attribute to different types of skill tree upgrades. Which, if I had to say I preferred something, I probably preferred the last one just a little bit more, but I think it's still great in its own right. And it was refreshing, if not anything. So, one thing that I thought was really good about this one in particular is the nicer visuals, because around that time, let's see, Kiwami 2 came out in 2017. So that's when they started using the Dragon engine, which is the same one that Yakuza 6 and Judgment use. And just the visuals look a lot nicer, because it's no longer being held back by also being a PS3 game like Yakuza 0 and Kiwami were. So the game just looks like a lot nicer overall. And a part of that I think was probably one of the biggest things I liked is that you no longer have to take 3 seconds to load into a store just to buy like 2 things and leave, and then wait like 5 seconds to load back into the world. Like, it's just like you walk in and like, because like that's just a part of the world now, you can just walk in without any loading. And I thought that was a nice thing, since that was probably the thing that I disliked the most about the previous 2, even though it wasn't that big of a deal. So now just the things that I didn't really like so much. One of the things I noticed was there's like some weird environmental glitches. I only noticed this a couple times, but it did kind of take me out of the moment, and I thought it was kind of strange. But not a super big deal. One thing that is a dramatic change from the previous 2 is that Kiryu is now limited to just one combat style, instead of having 4. So that's kind of a big deal, because he had a lot of like different options, but then in Kiwami 2, he's really just limited to using the dragon style, which is effective, but it's limiting the player from all sorts of different playing styles. And my favorite was always Brawler, which wasn't put into this, so I was a little bit disappointed by that. And this next part is kind of related to how they switched engines for what they're using for the series. So because the visuals in the world themselves are a lot nicer, the frame rate does take a cut. So it went from going to 1080 at 60, because it was basically just running a PS3 game on PS4. It's now going to 1080 at 30 frames. So it's not like terrible, but just going from 60 to 30, it is noticeable. But I mean, like, it's not like unplayable by any means. Like, a lot of games do use 30 frames, but just like going from that 60 to 30, it's a difference you can feel when you're playing the game. So, but yeah, overall, I did really, really like the game. I definitely think it's not quite as good as Kiwami 1, but I haven't quite decided in my mind whether it's better than 0 or not. So Kiwami 1's definitely my favorite so far, and then 0 and 2 I can't decide what's my second and third favorite. But overall, I would say I would give it a 7 out of 7. I've really liked all these games that I've been playing so far. I'm really looking forward to playing more in the future. I just got the remastered collection like a few weeks ago, because I knew I was probably going to want to play those as well. And I've heard that 3 is kind of the one that people kind of don't like so much. And even in one of the side quests, I'm pretty sure they were making fun of that, because there's a side quest that kind of sounds like that. But anyway, I plan on playing 3 sometime in the near future. I'm trying to play Kingdom Hearts 3 first, and then I'll get to 3 remastered. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.